Comedy's monthly storytelling show. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited about the show and the lineup we have for you tonight. Who here has seen a storytelling event before? Okay, so for the two people who haven't, what you're about to see is, it's not improv and it's not sketch comedy. What's going to happen is I'm going to call people up and they're going to tell you a true story from their life. Every month we do a different theme, and this month the theme is mistakes, mishaps, and misadventures, which I almost feel like we could just make every storytelling show that theme, because mistakes are so ripe for storytelling. Usually you get a good story out of something going terribly. And this is actually our year anniversary show. We've had 12 of these, so it's very exciting. There's been a lot of great moments on this stage, and not everything you see with this theme, everything's probably going to be ridiculous, but people are open to talk about whatever they want, so we could get, like a sad story or a heartfelt story, or it's not necessarily going to be comedy just because we're at Go Comedy. But to get things started, just a quick, do I have my harmonica? I do, okay. So how this is going to work is I'm going to call everyone up, and the storytellers are going to get 7 minutes, and once they hit that mark, I'm going to play this tiny harmonica that used to be a necklace, just gently urging them to wrap things up. And that's pretty much all you have to know. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I don't think I am. But to start things off, I'm going to tell a story of my own. So going in the Wayback Machine, when I was in middle school, I was obsessed. Me and my friends were obsessed with each other. And it's the kind of thing that had to have been so annoying to anyone within earshot, any adult around, because middle schoolers talk about just complete nonsense nonstop. They're not saying anything important. They just we would when I think about what we talked about, we would just repeat song lyrics to each other over and over, the same song for months, and then we would pick out one line from a movie that wasn't even funny to begin with, and we would just repeat it for 6 months to each other and crack up hysterically every time. And we would write notes to each other just all day, and usually about our crushes. And I kept a box of them, and it's hilarious to look at now because they're all in little origami folds. I don't know if people still do this, but and then I'll open one up and all it just says is I love Andrew, I love Andrew, I love Andrew for 4 pages. So that's where my head was at, where the story happens, which is important to note. I really love my friends and I really trusted them, and I would do anything for them. I felt like we had some really strong bonds. So I was in 8th grade, and I had this homeroom teacher. Her name was Miss Andrus, and Miss Andrus was probably in her late 30s, and she had this big mess of grayish brown hair that looked like distressed stuffed animal hair. It was just going in all different directions, and she wore long skirts, and she just talked with a soothing voice, and she was really hip. She would talk to us about her days being a waitress before she was a teacher, and she would she called our garbage can in the classroom the 86 file, because that's restaurant lingo for when you're out of something, just so you know. And she had crazy ideas. One day she just had the idea we should go for a trip to a graveyard so we can have a picnic and play frisbee. And when all of her students reacted like this was a weird idea, she was like, well, you guys have never had a picnic in a graveyard? That's it, we're going. Never brought it up again. So she was on another level, different planet. So we're in her class, and I'm in the desks are in a circle. Of course, Miss Andrews kept her desks in a circle. And my friends Kristen and Amber are to my right, and then to my left are Brandy and Amanda. And we weren't really friends with Brandy and Amanda. It's not a big deal, it wasn't weird or anything, it was 8th grade, it was fine. But Brandy and Amanda were having there was a ton of side conversations going on. And but Brandy and Amanda had somehow escalated into like a 8th grade girl bickering, high pitch, they were fighting over, I think, a hairbrush. Amanda took Brandy's hairbrush or Brandy took Amanda's hairbrush. It was something that cliche and girly. And they were just having a tug of war, and they kept bumping into us. And it was really annoying. And my friend Kristen was like, God, this just slap her for me. And she didn't mean it at all, she was just kidding, but I just turned to Brandy and I slapped her clear across her face. And she is surprised, and I am surprised, and I look across the circle of desks, and all my classmates are just like, what? And then we all look at Miss Andrus, and she's still writing on the board, she's just on her own planet again. And I don't know why I did that, and I just sort of try to pretend it didn't happen, and everyone's in shock. So I've never hit anyone before, never thought about it, but this is not the first time I've just blindly done something that my friends told me to. Earlier that year, my friend Samantha was showing me a dance routine, and she wanted me to do a backflip, and I told her I can't do a backflip, but she believed in me. And she was just 8th grade girl knowledge. She was she sat cross-legged on the floor. She just put her head on my lap and she rubbed my temples in a really soothing, hypnotic voice. She's like, you can do backflips. You can do it. And I was like, you're right, I can. And I got up with just this new sense of confidence. I tried the move again, and I fell directly on my head because I can't do backflips. So, cut back to the story. I just slapped Brandy, that didn't know why. And class ends, amazingly, no one tells Miss Andrus, but as soon as class ends, everyone's walking up to me, they're like, Brandy says she's gonna kick your ass. And I'm like, oh God, because Brandy's much bigger than me. Brandy's been in fights before. Besides for surprise slapping, I have no advantages in this situation. And so, and also, we both have volleyball practice. We're both on the volleyball team together, and Miss Andrus is the teacher, or the coach. So, I was like, okay. But my friends, this crazy girl trance stuff, they were like, well, she wants to kick your ass, she's going to kick our asses, too. We're gonna kick her ass. And I was just like, why are you on my side? I just hit this person for no reason, but it was just, they had my back. And so I walk into volleyball practice, and I'm just picturing a West Side Story type scenario of just the gym turns into a dance fight sequence, and it's just annoying 8th grade girls versus annoying 8th grade girls. But she does not tell Miss Andrus. She does pull her aside, and she tells her what happens, and Miss Andrus doesn't believe her because I'm a good student and I've never done anything like that before. So that's it. And I count this as a misadventure and not a mistake because I didn't get my ass kicked. But but I will say that I don't miss being an 8th grader and just blindly doing things that my friends tell me to. But it was kind of cool for a short period of time to just be locked in that weird trance with all these other girls. And so, yeah, that's my story. The first storyteller I'm going to call up graciously sat on the left side of the room because it just seemed really empty, so she took one for the team. She is an activist and stand-up comedian. Please welcome Kristen Cunningham.
Hey guys. So I wanted to tell you a story about the time I ate the wrong brownie. freshman in college. You know, when you're a freshman, you're on your own, you're making choices for yourself for kind of the first time. And I have a lot of food allergies, so there were a lot of limited choices for me in our dining hall. And I went to a very small college, Albion College, and there were no options besides the dining hall. Like, you couldn't opt out of that. And like, I had grown up cooking for myself, so it was a major transition from going from like actually feeding yourself to being like, I can't eat pizza for every meal. This is not okay. Like, I know what the food like will is. Like, I know what I should be eating. So I got in the habit of eating like really crazy stuff at weird times. So one morning I go into the cafeteria and I'm just like, I like don't eat eggs, like, and at this point, like, I wasn't eating any pork or anything like that, so I didn't have a lot of breakfast options. So I'm just like, okay, I'm an adult. I can have a brownie for breakfast. Like, this is great. Like, I'm gonna take this opportunity to just like live my best life. So like, get my brownie, sit down with my friends, and I take just a little bite of the brownie and immediately feel my tongue start to tingle, and I'm just like, oh, this is a peanut butter brownie. And I'm allergic to peanuts. And this was honestly my first time having peanuts. So I was just like, oh, this is not as great as everyone is saying it is at all. Like, it's not, gotta say, it's not worth it. And as someone who, like, because of my allergies and like, I was like quirky and frail and like awkward kid, I spent a lot of time in the hospitals as a kid. Like, one of my first memories is getting tested for allergies, and that's the reason why like I'm afraid of shots to this day, because back then they like had to draw blood and like give you shots to figure out what your allergies were. So like one of my first memories is like me casually going, I need to go to the bathroom, and like leaving that situation. So I'm just like, okay, with that, the only thing that you can do besides like taking a Benadryl is get like stabbed with an EpiPen. But like, I have a fear of needles, so obviously the EpiPen is not the way I'm going with this. So I carry around Benadryl in my purse for these occasions. So just very casually, I just feel my tongue start to tingle at the table. My friends are having a normal conversation as you do on a normal morning, and I'm just like, I have to go now. That's it. Just like take the Benadryl, and I'm just like, I have to go now. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Like, I know what time it is already. So I'm like starting to swell up, and like I feel like my ear constricting, like my pipes constricting. But like, I have asthma. I've had asthma as a kid, so like I'm calm about it. I know the drill. Like, I've been to the hospital for this. I know it's just gonna be better as long as I stay calm. So I head over to our health services to kind of just let them know what was happening. So like, if I did die, someone knew what was going on. And they're just like, okay, here's some more Benadryl. I'm just like, I know in my heart this is not the amount of Benadryl you should be taking as one human person, but okay. Like, I mean, this is better than being stabbed, so I'll take it. I'll take it. When your options are stabbed or being drugged, you choose being drugged. That's the right choice. Always, that's the right choice. So I am like, they're also just like, well, we want to watch you, and I'm just like, if you've never taken Benadryl, you know that you have a very small window of time before you're going to sleep. So you're just like, am I gonna have to sleep here? Like, I don't want to sleep here all day. I have a 5-minute walk to my dorm. Please just let me go back there. And it's also like 8 a.m. Like, no classes have started yet. Day has not started for most people. They're just like, yeah, I guess that does make sense. Go back to your dorm. We'll email all of your professors to let them know that you're not going to be in classes today. So I go back to my dorm, and I think I call my mom and leave a message, because this was during that period of time when, like, if you sent too many text messages, your parents would be like, should you be doing this? So leave a message for my mom that's pretty much just like, I'm about to pass out, don't worry about it, it's allergies, and that's it. And we talk the next day. But like, I wake up from this allergy situation at like 7 p.m. At this point, it's a Friday. There's not much else to do in my small college town. I missed all of my Greek activities for the day, so my sorority was in a competition. Totally was supposed to be a part of that. Definitely missed it. So I did what any freshman in college would do, and I rallied and went to the frats. Because that's what you do. You spend your day on drugs, and then you just go out and you sustain it. You want to keep that high. So, yeah, that was the time I almost died.
Thank you, Kristen. That was really nice that they emailed all of your professors.
Very polite and nice to do.
I slipped on ice one time at Michigan State, and I was on my way to an exam, and I was so afraid that they wouldn't believe me that I like walked into it like this. And it was like a big auditorium, and it was terrible. Thank you. So our next storyteller is, he is a performer and actor. He's a member of the farm team at Planet Ant. He is also a producer of the Gay Agenda web series. Please welcome Kyle O'Neill.
So, I used to tour in a band. We toured for about 9 years, and it was mostly mishaps and mistakes and misadventures. And I'm gonna zero in on one. So, at this point, we had been on tour from the fall of 2008 straight pretty much till the early summer of 2010. And so, I mean, we'd been home a little bit here and there, but it was like, we were together a lot. And we were all good friends before we started the band, so there was a lot of, I guess, baggage attached to that. And, you know, emotions could fly. Anyways, so we're about to do a festival in England, and first we flew to do a show in Moscow, which was crazy, and then the plan was to do the festival run in England and then go into a European tour. So we did that, and we were leaving Russia to go back to England, and we were at the airport, and our drummer was like, "Oh, I left my hoodie on the plane," and then he's like, "I'm gonna go grab it," and then he went away for a little bit, and he came back, and he was like, "They won't let me back on the plane." I was happy it went somewhere else. I'm like, okay, that was that. Then we, get to the gate or get out of the airport, and our driver that we had hired to drive us around on this tour was there to pick us up, and we had never met him before. We had recommended him through someone else, and his name was Tamps. He was super nice, and that was his job, was to drive us around and take care of us, and he was good at that. So the first show, we get to the first show. It's in like a pre-show to this festival, and we're headlining, and it's our first time ever headlining in overseas, and the show's sold out, and so it's a big deal for us. It didn't even really happen over here, and so we were like really stoked on the show, and we had some friends from Philly playing it, and some friends from California playing it, and so we were stoked for the show. About maybe 5 minutes before doors opened for the show, Tamps, our driver, who's just met us, came into the green room and was like, "So, Tim, your drummer's been arrested. He got caught stealing a hoodie from American Apparel, and he's not gonna make the show." Well, I don't know what to do. Like, you know, what do we do? But the other bands that, like, we were all friends with them for the most part. We're like, well, one guy from one band was like, I can play 2 songs. I'll go put my headphones on right now and I'll learn a couple songs. And then there was this guy that was an opening band who's from England who we never met. But he's like, I know a couple songs. I can learn those. And, he did the same thing. And then my best friend, who I grew up with here, I got him a job playing drums for the band from California. So he's filled in for us before. He's like, I got this. And then we're like, okay, that's 6 songs. And then our drummer was like, I play drums. Or our driver was like, I play drums. And we're like, all right. Let's do this. So the show starts, and the guy from England who we've never met starts this set off. And he kills it. He's awesome. He knows the songs. Didn't miss a beat. It was great. We're like, wow, we're actually doing this. Played both the songs great. Our friend from Philly who was playing drums, he killed it as well. Knew the songs. We're actually like getting through the show. And it was like, at this point, since we were doing it, it's kind of funny to us. And we were like, talking about making fun of Tim for being arrested on stage and stuff like that. Then my best friend comes in and he's like, he's filled in us first before, completely botches the songs. Like, the guy who's played him before is the one who messes them up. Then our driver comes in, doing stick twirls, just going nuts, but nails every part of it. And he's just showing off, and it's great. It's awesome. And then so we pulled up the show. So that was a feat in itself, and it was wild that we did that. Then the promoters were like, we're doing this after party with this group called the Millionaires. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Millionaires. They were kind of popular around that time. They were these girls from California kind of would rap about getting fucked up, and under the guise of like this emo scene or something. And it was weird and not good, and we made fun of them a lot before we met them. But they're like, so you have to get out of the green room because they're gonna use the green room afterwards, like whatever. But then they got to the green room and they're like, no, you guys can stay, and they were super nice, and we're like, oh, well, I feel bad for thinking they were not gonna be, because we didn't know them. So they were super nice, and then we hung out for a little bit, and then we loaded up, and then we started putting our gear in the van, and then our drummer just comes running up, and he's like, I'm sorry, I missed it. And apparently he went to shoplift the hoodie that he left on the plane. They caught him, he started running, a cop started chasing him, and then grabbed him, and then he went to swing back and to punch this cop, but then caught himself before he did it, and he restrained himself, and then the cops were, English, so they're very nice, and his punishment was basically that he couldn't play the show, and then they let him go, no record or anything. So we were very lucky, because that would have messed things up for the rest of the tour. So we're driving in the van after the show, and we're like, Tim, you can't do that anymore. You messed a lot of things up, but it was kind of funny that we pulled it off. And then our guitar player said something about making fun of this Millionaires Man again, and like our other guitar player's like, no, they were actually really nice, and like, and so there's like 3 different arguments going on, like one about our drummer getting arrested, one about whether these people are nice or not, and then our 2 guitar players had known each other since they were 12, so like they just started going off and were yelling at each other, and then one said something about making money on the tour, and the other guy pulled out his wallet and was like, you want money? And just started throwing money at him. And it was like, this whole scene in this van, and our driver, who had never met us, had just endured all this and take care of us. And then he had 3 more weeks with us after this thing. So that was a story.
Do you still talk with that guy? I mean, seems like a really
Yeah.
cool friend. Yeah.
Maybe that.
Our next performer, or our next storyteller, is a local performer. Please welcome Steve Graham.
Thank you so much. You guys are awkward, right? I'm awkward. We're all a little awkward. Or at least we all have the capacity to be awkward. And it varies from person to person, like how awkward you are. Some people are chill as cucumbers. Nothing phases them. They're stoic. And then other people, like, they can't make it through a conversation without, like, drooling on themselves. I like to think I'm somewhere, like, right in the middle of that spectrum. I'm certainly not as awkward as I was when I was a teenager. I was more towards, like, the drooly end of the spectrum when I was 17, specifically. And so when I think of being awkward, I think of being a teenager. And when I think of being awkward, I also think of dating as a teenager. When I was 17, it was a fucking atrocity. A little backstory, her name was Sam. And Sam was like a textbook dream girl. She was like smart, she was funny, she was kind, she was compassionate. She had a nose ring, which was very in vogue at that time. So she was like a trendsetter or pioneer with regard to fashion. And I'll never forget how I learned that Sam liked me. I was at dinner with my family, and I got a text from my friend James. And for those who don't know James, James is he's like a textbook like wingman. He's so smooth and he's so subtle with the art of hooking up his friends. So I get a text from him, and the text reads literally like this: "Hey, Sam wants your dick. I gave her your phone number." And at first I was like, no, don't do that. Do not give her my phone number. Do not do that. I'm not trying to shit on myself, but it's just that I had like no illusions that I could date a girl like this. And like sidebar, I know these days I know that like I'm idolizing her and that I'm kind of like I'm infatuated with the ideal of her rather than who she was as an actual person. But 17-year-old Steve didn't make that sort of distinction. So I get that text from my friend James, and I was like, no, don't do that. But the damage was done. He had given her my phone number. And I kind of like slingshotted in the opposite direction. I'm like, this ain't bad. Like, this is kind of cool. Like, because I was flattered, right? I was flattered that a girl like her like wanted my number and had approached my friend and had asked to talk to me. And she did. She texted me, and we talked about things, the weather amongst them. And we ended up going on some dates. Dates, put that in quotation marks. Because the dates were, I'm not gonna go through like the specificities. I'm not gonna detail all these dates for you in crucial detail because they were all very much the same thing. Awkward, very awkward. But I will give you one moment that her and I shared. It's 2010, summer. Again, I'm 17 years old. We had just seen Toy Story 3. It was in theaters at that time. And outside of the theater, we were drinking coffee. I was drinking mine with cream and sugar, like my father taught me. And she was drinking hers with black with Splenda. And we were outside, and it was like a really nice night. It was like evening, so the sun was going down. You could feel the sun on your neck and your back. And there was like a breeze coming through the front. It was like being hugged by nature. It was perfect. It was beautiful. It was serene. Nothing could fuck it up. Except yours truly. It was very awkward, and I gotta give this girl credit because this sanctum of a woman, she kept the conversation going for like an hour. She told me stories about her and her friends and her family. She asked me questions, the replies to which were, yeah, cool. And she kept this thing going for an entire hour. It was painful, and it was hard to be through. It was awkward. And I'm not talking about awkward and like, oh, it's charming awkward. It's kind of endearing. I'm talking painful, hard to be in the same room as awkward. So we went on a few more dates after that, if you can believe it. Nothing happened. Like it fizzled out. There was no like period at the end of our metaphorical sentence of a relationship. It was it just fizzled out. And she went away to college, and eventually she moved out of the state, and she lives across the country now. And I never saw her again until 2 months ago. Some mutual friends of ours were getting married, and they had actually met through us, which was a whole other story. Equally as fun though. I was going to the wedding because I was friends with the groom. I had been friends with him since high school. We were like best friends in high school. But I wasn't sure if she was going to go. Because, like I said, she lived across the country. She lived in her own, like in a different state. She had her own life. I didn't think she would come back to Podunk, Michigan for a wedding with friends from years ago. And I'll never forget, we were in the church. And it was a Catholic church. I'm not religious, but it was beautiful. And I can appreciate good architecture when I see it. And I lean over to my friend. I like whisper something to him, probably something like really sacrilegious to make him laugh. And I see it across the aisle. It's Sam. She's by herself. It's fine. And sidebar. At this point in my life, again, this was 2 months ago. I had gone on like more successful dates. I've had successful relationships. Successful being a relative term because I'm single now. But the fact of the matter was, I could like at this point talk to girls. But when I saw her in the church, I turned to my left. When I saw her in the church, I won't even lie to you. 17-year-old Steve took over my body and soul. Because right when I saw her, and I'm not proud of this, I know it was immature, and I know I shouldn't have done it, but right after that ceremony, I beelined it out of that fucker, my face staring at the floor. Because I don't want to confront her. Like I didn't want to like talk to her, because I was like, how could someone like her like forgive me for just being so painful around her the whole time? So I booked it out of that bitch. And I called the church a bitch. Sorry. But I didn't want to see her because, and it was about me. It wasn't about her. But anyway, I knew I would have to confront her at the reception. So after the ceremony and before the reception, we had gone to we wanted to get coffee, so we went to a Target in which was a Starbucks. Don't get me started on that. But we were in line, and I was drinking my coffee black this time because I had matured, and she and my friends were ordering their coffee, and I'm sitting on my coffee, and all of a sudden I hear a voice from behind me, and it goes, "Hi!" And I turn around, and there she was, Catherine Zeta-Jones. It was Sam. And she had like a smile on her face and a look in her eyes that told me she was happy to see me. And I just remember in that moment like feeling like very like appreciative that this was the type of girl who I shared my first dates with, because again, nearly a decade later, she had come up to me, she had approached me, she had wanted to talk to me. And I just remember sitting there feeling very appreciative about that. And I looked at her, she looked at me, and she said, "Hi, Mr. Green." And I said, "Hi, Sam." Thank you.
Keep it for Steve, everyone. Thank you for inventing renting the sidebar area of the stage. If anyone else wants to use that, go ahead. Our next performer is a comic. You can find her doing stand-up this Saturday at the Dequindre Cut Freight Yard. Please welcome Lindsay Rendell.
Thank you. So Kristen, really funny that you had your whole bit about your allergies, because earlier today I woke up with my eyes swollen shut and went to work. But luckily I'm an optician, so I walk in and the doctor saw me, blah, blah, blah. Got this ointment now, that's why I'm late for the show. Anyway, oh, should I have sidebarred that? I don't know. Sidebar in the beginning. Anyway, so when I heard what the topic was that I had to speak about tonight, I'm like, how am I going to sum up my whole entire life in 7 minutes? It's gonna be hard, but I thought about it, and I don't know if you guys have this friend, but I feel like everyone does. That it's that friend that, like, collectively you don't know how you haven't died yet with, like, your powers combined. Like, so anyway, that friend is probably me, but it's actually my best friend Cody. And I went to go visit him on a Halloween weekend like a couple years ago. And so I went to go visit him. He lives on Mackinac Island. He lives there. And when he told me that he decided to move there, I was like, so you can just be a professional fudge packer? Anyway, so I go to visit him on a Halloween weekend. The first night that I get there, we go to this house party, and we both are heavily flirting with this guy. And I want to, like, also mention that we made a very strong sangria before we went there. And that wasn't enough. We decided with our powers combined that we were going to chase the sangria with vodka, or vodka with sangria, either way. So we are very intoxicated, and we're talking with this gentleman, and we're at this point like kind of fighting over him. We're like, no, he's gay, no, he's straight, no, he's gay, no, he's straight. And turns out Cody won that round. He is gay. And I went home with, well, he lived in a studio apartment, so essentially he was going home with both of us either way. But I was, A, too intoxicated to remember, but B, thankfully too intoxicated to witness anything. But I wake up with Cody like leaning over me, and he has this face of like horror, like somehow it's a face of horror and embarrassment at the same time. And I'm like alarmingly waking up with him like staring at me, and he's like, Lindsay, what? He explains what happened, and he said, you know, we fooled around and stuff, is actually what he said. But we fooled around, and all of a sudden he says, you know, I want to take this thing off because it's uncomfortable to sleep with. And Cody's like, okay, I'm not really sure what that means, but all of a sudden the dude takes off his prosthetic leg and just leans it against the wall and goes to sleep. And Cody's like, I didn't sleep at all last night, you know? Like I just couldn't believe that I'd actually hooked up with someone that I didn't realize was lacking. Anyway, so the next night was Halloween, and on Mackinac Island they have this, it's really fun if you guys want to go sometime, but they have every year a giant bar crawl. So the whole island just goes from bar to bar to bar, whatever. So Cody is dressed as a chicken. He's wearing a chicken costume. Sorry, the Benadryl is like really, I should be sleeping. It's pretty much, is this a dream? I'm not even sure. But anyway, so Cody's dressed as a chicken, Did I say kitchen or did I say?
Chicken.
Okay, cool. So he's dressed as that. Our other friend is dressed as a doctor, and I was Lucille Ball. So we decide that we didn't learn from our mistakes the night before, and we're again drinking the sangria with vodka, plus bar drinks or whatever. And cause it's always that idea of like, I'm gonna sneak this alcohol in and only drink this, but like you're also gonna have other bar drinks, so you just end up getting fucking shit-faced. But anyway, so I'm like in a brownout state, and we go to the last bar. It's like close to 2 a.m. and I see this like Cuban-looking guy sitting alone at the bar. And in my drunk brain, I was just like, I like point at him, make eye contact, and I was like, Ricky Ricardo, you're coming home with me tonight. So that's the last moment that I remember of that night. I wake up the next morning in an apartment where I have no idea where I am, alone, and I like turn over and there's this note at the bedstand that says, in very broken English, hope you enjoy the sex. I'm like, well, shit, guess I don't have to remember that. I guess I know what happened. So I do that like dreaded walk of shame back home, but dressed as Lucille. So it's even worse. Don't know where Cody's apartment is, but I'm like, I'm gonna find it. So I find it, meet up with them. I'm explaining the situation of why I didn't come home last night, and I reach my purse for a cigarette, and I find a second note. And the note says, you have the chicken pox. So I'm like freaking the fuck out, because I'm like, I have herpes now. Like, I know for sure. He didn't know how to translate it to English, and he's trying to tell me in the best way of like, you probably have herpes now, I don't know, sorry, it was your fault, you're the one who came up to me. So I'm freaking out, Cody's playing it cool, and all of a sudden, like, what seemed like 5 days later, Cody just finally gives in, and he's like, all right, so our friend dressed as the doctor was giving like fake diagnosis and like prescriptions out to people and like just sticking it in their back or whatever, and gave one to Cody that said, you have the chicken pox, because he was dressed as a chicken, she's so clever. He just happened to have put that in my purse without thinking of like repercussion of that, you know? And so, yeah, that's the story of when I went to Mackinac Island, browned out, no pun intended, sorry, met Ricky and found out that I have chlamydia. I'm kidding, I don't have it anymore, it's fucking curable. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for braving your Benadryl haze to tell us that. That was beautiful. Our next storyteller is also your bartender, so you can't get any drinks for the next 7 or so minutes. He is also a local performer and actor. He's performing in Baskerville, a Sherlock Holmes mystery at the Riverbank Theater in Marine City. Please welcome Jeff Smythe.
Give it up for Amy, everybody. She's so proud. Hi, how's it going? The year was 2008. I had just failed out of Western Michigan University and decided to move to Florida to go to school down there by myself. Didn't know anybody, and it was very quick a quick turnover, I guess, you know. Doesn't matter. Anyways, I get down there, and within the first couple months, I had met these two guys. Josh, also known, he preferred that you called him Dizzle. He was from Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, and he had the worst tattoo of the word funk on his neck. Spelled P-H-U-N-K, who fucking knows. And then my buddy Ben from Knoxville, Tennessee. These two guys, I mean, we just gravitated towards each other, and to quote Nas, it's so funny, my last story, I quoted Alanis Morissette, and now I'm quoting Nas. Inclusion is a drug. And so to be cool, after I think, so the school I went to was basically a 24-hour schedule. So we had lectures from 9 a.m. till 3, and then had to be back at labs from 9 p.m. till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So in between, it was kind of a gamble on what we would do. Sometimes get lunch, sometimes smoke 4 blunts. Who fucking knew? And so they decided, my apartment that I had was literally across the street from our school. So we tended to gravitate towards over there or whatever, and hang out over there between classes and stuff. And in the parking lot of our school was this head shop. And these two cats that I was hanging out with, they were like, "Hey, have you ever tried salvia?" And I was like, "No, what's salvia?" Now, mind you too, I got kicked out of Western for doing some pretty hardcore shit, okay? Stuff that would get you kicked out of a school. And had no idea what it was, and so we went to the head shop after lecture, and I picked up a little gram of this stuff. It was in this little purple tin. It was $40 or something like that. I'm like, whoa, And now, mind you too, I'm leery on this too. I'm like, anything you get from a head shop usually is pretty whack. And so we go back to my place and break out this little water pipe kind of thing, whatever, and pack it up. And these two cats have done it before. I have not. Didn't even know what the F it was. And so I remember I'm the first person to do it, because clearly they knew. And, let's see a show of hands. Who knows what salvia is? Who's tried it? Okay, a little handful of people. If you haven't or haven't seen it, YouTube it, it's the funniest fucking shit in the world. Go back to my place, whatever. We put The Doors on the radio. I wish I would have had Pete cue this up, because that'd be great. At any point, Pete, if you get The Doors' Soul Kitchen, I don't even know if you're up there, but The Doors' Soul Kitchen, if you could play that in the background, that'd be great, because that will really give you a... So I'm sitting on my couch or whatever, and pack the water pipe, and I remember my buddy Dizzle being like, "Dude, just take it to the dome. Take it to the dome, dude." And I yeah. And as I exhaled, it felt like I was melting backwards into the couch, falling back in this pit, to which I responded with standing up. Oh, you're great. Stood up and grabbed the legs of the coffee table with both hands. And I remember looking over at them to my right, and they're both like, ha, 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 ha. And I'm like, I'm fucking dying. This is a coup. They have colluded before this to kill me from some shit from a head shop. And I remember holding on to this because this is all I had. And then and I remember looking over at them, and there's a point in this song where he says, "Smoke another cigarette," and as soon as that fucking line hit, Ben lit up a cigarette, and now I'm for sure, this is all a plan, this is all, I'm fucking dying. And I remember looking at them being like, am I dying? And Dizzle was like, no, man! And so about, which felt like forever, started to calm down, and I proceeded to let go of the legs of the coffee table, lay back in the bed, or on the couch, and kind of just lay down, put my arms across me, and look at them, and I thought these were the worst people in the world. I thought that I was dying, for sure. If there was any point in my life that I thought for sure that I was going to die, this was it. And everything started to kind of come back. The Doors song didn't seem so good. Why is it that the Doors, anytime you do any type of hallucinogenic, it fucking heightens it like 15 times? And I proceeded to be like, okay, I'm not dying. They didn't even smoke it! They're like, no, we're not doing that shit. They made me buy this stuff for $40. And they knew it. It was a whole coup to watch me do this. And this is before like video cell phones, so I wish that there was a video or a still of me squatting like this, holding the legs of my coffee table, because I don't know what this was gonna do for me. Like, if anything, the coffee table was coming with me into the pits of hell, you know? But, yeah, that was it. And we're still best friends to this day, really. I mean, like, I still talk to him very, very often. And Josh, who was in Ohio recently, I visited him probably about at the beginning of summer. I told him that story, and he's like, you don't know how often I tell that story to people about just this whole thing. And I still have the other half a gram, or whatever the hell it was, of salvia somewhere in my junk drawer of bullshit in my house that, oh, perfect timing. That's for the next user, so that's, yeah. Stay away from salvia. And if you haven't seen it or used it, please YouTube it, because it's, you'll love it. It's pretty great. Thank you.
Wild ride. Let's try to center. You know what? I'm going to talk about real quick about, let's just say, if you're sitting up here or if you're sitting out there, you're thinking, I'd like to tell a story. You totally can. Most people in this lineup tonight are doing this for the first time. If you're interested at all, talk to me after the show. Our next show is going to be October 11th, and it's going to be our Halloween themed show. It's going to be like ghost stories and shit. So if you like have any stories about like weird paranormal stuff or anything like that, or if you know anyone who does, get them in contact with me. That would be awesome. And it's a monthly show. Please check out our Facebook page. The handle is just let's just say Go Comedy. I think that's it. Our next storyteller is a performer here at Go Comedy. Please welcome Rachel Kingstrom.
Ruin the reputation of this theater. Got my emotional support cell phone here. Anyway, so Amy approached me about a week ago, so I'm just kind of scrambling to tell a story from about 13 years ago. But, you know, I obviously, with the topic of mistakes, misadventures, I was like, well, which one of the thousands of mistakes that I've made in my life should I tell tonight? So I thought I would start with a story that we can all relate to. It was the time that I was kicked out of a gay bar in Argentina. Yep. So this is a family-friendly show, I assume. So let me back up. I went to Alma College. I see
CU Albion.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's part of the small liberal arts, ridiculously expensive colleges in Michigan League. Anyway, if you're not familiar with Alma, it's in a very small town. It's about half the size of my high school, and it was great. I don't want to say that it was a bad experience by any means. I had a lot of great opportunities, but it got to be pretty confining, right? It's like everyone knows everyone else's business, and it's like, okay, I just want to go somewhere where no one knows me. So anyway, I got the opportunity to go to Argentina for spring term my sophomore year. So I was 20. And I was, just very excited. I was a Spanish minor, so I'm like, this will be a great chance to, immerse myself in a different culture and practice my language skills. And also I was 20, so I was mostly just really excited to be of legal drinking age. So, with that mature mindset, of course, I was setting myself up to get into some trouble. And it was really a cool experience there. I roomed with about 6 different girls. We all shared an apartment. And when I think about that now, it sounds like an absolute nightmare. 6 women in 1 apartment, yikes. But it was surprisingly drama-free. Everyone, got along pretty well. And we spent a lot of time together. I can't emphasize this enough. We barely left the apartment except for the course-guided tours that we went on, and of course, class that came up from time to time. And so one night, we're like, all right, I'm sick of watching MTV and Espanol. I've heard the song Gasolina for the 1,000th time, which, by the way, if you're not familiar with it, a lot of people like gasoline and like to talk about it. So YouTube it, it's great. Daddy Yankee had a shortened career, very sad. Anyway, so one night we're like, hey, let's leave the apartment. Let's try to be humans. Let's kind of see what the nightlife here is like. And again, the story is from 13 years ago. Memories a little fuzzy. Also, there was alcohol involved. So I'm like, I don't really remember how we got there or how we ended up at this place, but we ended up at a place. It's a gay club, like, whatever. We just wanted to go find a place to go dancing and not be groped upon and not enter into some Ponzi scheme or whatever. So we end up at this gay club called Titanic. What could go wrong? So the next several hours are, definitely a blur, and it's like when I play the scene back in my mind, it's like the best way to describe it is like a Miley Cyrus music video. I'm just like downing drinks. I'm like, yes, give me all the vodka tonics you can feed me. Yes, yes. Oh, my money is worth 3 times as much here. Oh, yes, give me all of it. Yes. So then I end up getting really drunk and really sick. So I'm in the bathroom by myself for some reason. I don't know how I wandered away from my little group at this point, but I just remember that I am puking my guts out. And by the way, this gay club, God bless it, it only played Madonna songs. So I'm there, I'm hurling and in between heaves and hurls and trying to, I'm a Midwesterner, so I'm trying to clean up as I'm puking into the toilet. All I can hear is Madonna's Like a Virgin. I'm like, well, isn't this romantic? So, and while that's happening, unbeknownst to me, which I find out later, which my roommates like to bring up, once or twice, they are arguing with the club manager because he's basically your friend, whatever he was saying in Spanish, but the gist of it was basically your friend is making a mess in there and you have to pay 25 pesos and and they're arguing. So half of the group is trying to wrangle me out of the bathroom, and the other half is arguing with the manager, well, no, we didn't know. So long story short, they end up paying, and the 5 of them drag me back to the apartment, somehow manage to get me to our living room. And this is no small feat because, you know, I'm obviously not short. And at the time, I think I was about 50 pounds heavier, and my roommates were probably all like yay high, and you know, just so I really owed them a lot that night for keeping me alive and making sure I made it home safe. So they get me back to the living room, right? And they all go to bed. They're like, "Oh, she'll be fine, you know, whatever. We'll just to be 20 again." But anywho, so I crawl. For some reason, I'm like, I can't stay in the living room. I crawl to what we affectionately call the kitchen bathroom. The bathroom next to the kitchen. Yeah. Do write that down. Okay. So I'm going to wax poetically about it because I spent a lot of time getting to know it that night. Just imagine like a bomb shelter that's mint green, right? It's got like black trim, and then there's like this like metallic toilet, and then this tiny little sink that's like, okay, I guess you can wash your hands. So I spent the night there, right? And I'm just like curling up to it, and that's kind of the last memory I have of that night is like, this is my pillow now. And then at some point, you know, I come to in the morning, and you know, my friend, of course, she reminds me, hey, you owe me 25 pesos, which, come to think of it, I haven't talked to her in a while, and I think I still owe her that amount. But, you know, so I do owe them a lot for keeping me alive that night. Thankfully, since that time, I've gotten a little bit smarter about drinking. I think a lot of it has to do with getting older. But, you know, now I swear I hear like this voice in my head like saying like, remember what happens when you drink vodka, and like, hey, maybe don't finish that bottle of wine because I'm trying to keep you alive, you jerk. And so good on you, buddy. So that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Keep it going for Rachel, everyone. Isn't it fun to listen to all the dumb things you've done? How are you guys doing? Still good? Everyone feeling good? Yeah, one person over there. Thank you, Steve. All right, so we have a few more storytellers for you tonight. Our next one, he's a stand-up comedian, and you can see him perform on Friday, September 21st at the Motor City Comedy Festival. Welcome, Wes Ward.
Thank you, everybody. Give it up for Amy for hosting us. Thanks. Done a good job. Your stories are very good. I enjoyed them all. This story is a mishap, a misadventure, and a mistake, all rolled into one. When I was 15, my friends and I were social outcasts. Nerds, dorks, geeks, whatever you wanted to call us. That's what we were, right? And we had this one friend growing up named Brian from elementary school who stayed friends with us throughout high school. I'm from a very small town. I'm not sure how common it is to keep your friends from elementary school, but we were all friends from elementary school all the way to high school. I don't know if that's a common thing or not. That's how it went. That's what was awesome. We stayed in this group of friends. Now Brian, though, somehow branched out, and he became like a football star guy. He got a cheerleader girlfriend, and all the things Saved by the Bell taught us. You know what I mean? Like, but stayed friends with us for a little bit until it became socially unacceptable to hang out with us. So one day, we were sitting around my friend Rich's house. It was my friend Rich, my friend Joe, and me, and my friend Nick, all very waspy white dude names. If you're keeping track. If you forget a name, just think of a white dude name and you'll figure it out pretty quickly. So we're all sitting around, we're just talking shit about Brian as people do, talking shit about their friends. So that's what you do. You talk shit about your friends. Even if you like them, you kind of still talk shit about them. It's a good time. It just makes you feel better, you know what I mean? We're talking shit. It's like, Brian doesn't even talk to us. This motherfucker, I can't believe this son of a bitch does not talk to us. What a son, he's got this, he's a football star, and he's having sex with a cheerleader, and he's all the things Saved by the Bell taught us to be. And fuck him, that's how we were. So Brian and we knew worked down at the local theater. And we devised a plan to get back at Brian. The plan, in our heads at the time, sounded devious. And here was the plan. We were gonna silly string his car. Holy fuck. Are you kidding me? While listening to Tupac, so it was kind of dangerous, I guess. So, our friend Rich was the only one that could drive. He was 17, and so, coincidentally still a freshman. We didn't put that together. I don't know how at the time. He was a freshman with us, but could drive. So we pile into Rich's van. Rich had a van. Because that's when the only people that own vans are kids that can't afford better cars and adults that can't afford better cars. That's who owns vans. We all pile in. It's like the worst kind of looking van. It's like a white one with no windows. It's very sketchy. The kind that everyone makes fun of on the highway. You know what you're talking about. You know what I'm talking about when you hear it. We pile into this van. We go down to the local. We go on to the local Kmart first, which is still there, by the way, one of the few. So if you're down in good old Marine City, you can check out the Kmart. It still stands there. Still probably has the same stuff. So we all bought still a bunch of silly string. We go to down 3 stores to the movie theater complex, and we silly string the fuck out of Brian's car. I'm talking, this thing will be drivable in 5 minutes after he cleans it up. You know what I mean? Like, real dickhead shit. And then we're all proud, we're high-fiving, we're all proud of ourselves. We pile back into the van. We start pulling out of the parking lot, and we make a fatal mistake. Rich makes a fatal mistake. He doesn't turn on his headlights. He pulls out. Next thing you know, we're driving down the road, we're talking shit about Brian, talking about how we got back at him, talking about how awesome we are, talking about how we're gonna be the football stars, talking about we're gonna bang cheerleaders. We're awesome now. Brian's a piece of shit and we're cool, because we silly string his car. His Pontiac Firebird had silly string all over it. And then, the next thing I know, lights are on in the behind and a police car is pulling us over. And we pull over, and not just one police car was there, another pulls behind that police car. And then, this is the weirdest part. We're sitting there for 5 minutes as there's police officers just behind us, and a paddy wagon pulls up in front of the van so we can't get out. And I'm like, how the fuck does Marine City have a paddy wagon? Is this the 1960s? What is happening right now? So we're all sitting in the car, Nick, Joe, and Rich, and we're all devising a plan. How can we get out of this? What do we tell the officer? All right, will somebody eat the silly string, I think is one of us said. Like, just nonsensical shit. Things that doesn't make any sense. We're trying to figure out how to get out of this. A police officer goes on the passenger side, on the driver's side, pulls out his gun and points it directly at the driver and says, "Get your goddamn hands up! What are you doing right now? Get your hands up! All of you, your hands up where we can see them! Get your goddamn hands up!" And we all have our hands up. And in my hand, I'm holding 2 cans of silly string. And he goes, "We got a report that you motherfuckers were spray painting cars!" We all look at each other like, that would have been so much cooler. Why didn't we think to spray paint cars? Instead, we're just being old pussies, silly stringing cars. My friend Jen decides to lie. We're all scot-free, by the way. There is at no point, we are not in trouble. We just silly stringed a car. We didn't spray paint anything. My friend Jen decides to lie and say, we didn't do anything like that. We did do something like that, Jim, you dumb motherfucker. This man has a gun pointing at us. You're lying to him. What's wrong with you? We're told to get out of the car. We hand over the silly string. The police officers realize very quickly we are all morons in there. But they're trying to play it off like they knew the whole time. Like they're trying to play it off like, yeah, we're just trying to scare you. But they weren't trying to scare us. They were just trying to, we were spray painting some shit. I don't really have an ending to this story, so thank you for that. I guess what I'm trying to say in this story is if you have a friend that's being shitty, spray paint their car windshield. I mean, come on. That's way cooler than silly string. All right, that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Wes. Our next storyteller, she works at Podcast Detroit, and she's also a stand-up comedian. Please welcome Ellen Stakowitz.
Not so much more on the last part. That's not so, doesn't really matter. But that's because that is a job. That it's a job that, you gotta get out and go to those open mics, and you gotta show up to work. And you know what happens when you don't show up to work? You get fired, and you get left behind. But I'm saying that because I wanted to talk about the 5 times I was fired from a job. Not the same job, 5 different jobs. Some that lasted 6 months, some that lasted 6 hours. There was a period of my life between the ages of 20 and 22 when I could not consecutively hold down a job. And I wanted to start from the best time I was fired. It was still bad, but as far as the scale of good to bad goes, I'm starting from the best to the absolute worst. So the best time I was fired, I was 20 years old, and I decided to get a job at the National Coney Island that I had been eating at from birth to that age of my life. This was a family get-together place, after school orchestra concerts, that was that restaurant. And it was a block away from my house. I mean, I was set up for failure. Not only that, it was a 24-hour National Coney Island, and they wanted me to work the overnight counter shift. Never waitress before, wasn't really good with customer service, just not good at answering the phone, and apparently not good at packaging takeout orders, and those were my only jobs. Needless to say, I lasted about 2 days, not even a day and a half. Didn't really know what I was doing wrong. I knew I was doing something wrong, but I got pulled aside by the manager. She looked very stern. She told me to take off that National Coney Island t-shirt because I was fired, and I was asked to not come back. And I was like, can I still eat here? And I was just kind of pointed towards the door, and then I went out to the parking lot, sat in my parents' car, tried 3 times to take the perfect sad-looking selfie and wrote a caption "This summer's gonna blow, just got fired." The guy liked the photo, so I consider that day a win. That was the best time I was fired. The second best time, leading to the worst, by the way, so that was the fun story. I was working at an Einstein Bagel company that's right down the street on Woodward. Maybe some of you go there. It's that time of year to get, the pumpkin flavored lattes and stuff. And that was it was a September, and I think it was the 2 weeks that I worked there. I didn't get along with the manager there. This is my personality. This was how I was at work. And I just didn't click with this guy. He was very much a business guy, and his passion was running this Einstein Bagels bro. I can't even say it right. Einstein Bros Bagels. This was his passion, and I had to wear non-slip shoes. I had to wear non-slip shoes, but you know what are kind of expensive for someone who makes like $8.25 an hour? Non-slip shoes are kind of expensive. My pay was also getting garnished at that time. So something I didn't know. I was, I think, still 20 years old at this point, and my pay was getting garnished for credit card debt by my, what are those things called? Credit unions. That's, which I wasn't aware of. So I remember going to my manager and asking why, I'd set up direct deposit, but there was no money on my account for payday. My manager was like, well, I don't know, you gotta go talk to your bank. So I'd go to the bank, and I would ask what was going on, and they're like, you gotta talk to your manager. This happened like over the course of the 2 paychecks I got, until I finally figured it out. But needless to say, the credit card money debt that I owed was paid off, but not in time for me to go buy those non-slip shoes. And one day when I was showing up to work at 6 in the morning, I was blocked at the door by my coworker. She's like, I have been told to tell you that you are not allowed in this building unless you wear non-slip shoes. So, I left. I didn't enter the building, and I haven't since. And for like the following week after that, this isn't really going to show like my best character, but I was too afraid to tell my parents that I had gotten fired. So I would still put on the uniform and drive to the parking lot of the Shrine National Catholic Church because it was close to where I had worked, and I was like, I don't know, I just figured that was like a good park, that was like a good place to hide, and then I would sit there for like a couple of hours at like 6 in the morning because I was too afraid to tell my parents that I had gotten fired. And I did that for a while, and it was getting cold, so I would just sleep in that parking lot as the summer turned to fall. Because that was not a good point in my life, but that's 3 years past that, I'm 23 years. But, so that was another time I'd gotten fired. Now, the third time I'd gotten fired, let's see, I can't remember where this falls on the timeline. I turned 21 while it was happening, but I had tried to move to Lansing to, in my head, I don't know, like I really didn't know what I was thinking, like I was purposely searching for jobs further away from home. I wanted to move out. I wanted to be closer to a guy that I was dating at the time. That's never smart. I don't know, I don't know how to make that funny, because it's not. Like I was miserable, I was relying on this relationship to make me happy, and that's not healthy. And I don't know. So I'd fallen for this pyramid scheme type job that I had found on a website called Glassdoor. I'm starting to realize, Career Builder. Anything you find on Career Builder, it's not a career, it's a pyramid scheme. The job was to like set up a booth and sell certain products that were like given to the company, and then you had to work on this pitch. But the first thing we had to do before going out to like the different, like the Walmart type stores where you'd have to go set up booths to sell bamboo laced pillows, like we had to do these morning meetings where they'd be blasting music, like the top 40 hits, and you had to practice your sales pitches, and you weren't allowed to frown. That was like the thing, we weren't allowed to frown. We were all getting paid commission. It was also not a good time in my life. And I remember I started to catch on that this job was a bit of a scam because my manager would come in with this big smile on her face and talk about, oh, I gotta hurry up. It was a pyramid scheme. I don't know, like that's, I guess there were 2 more times I've gotten fired. But I'll just end on the pyramid scheme. Okay, so I started to pick up on it being a pyramid scheme. And I remember one day this woman, she had a big smile on her face, and she's like, Ellen, can we talk to you for a minute? And it was just, I knew it. She like lured me in. Well, first of all, I drove all the way from Metro Detroit to Lansing, because I had still not fully moved out at that time, and I was commuting to Lansing, and I had driven all the way out there. And I had been texting a text from my manager that day too, that kind of made me feel like something bad was gonna happen, but I made the drive anyway, and it was like, hey, can we talk at work today, smiley face? And I was about to be fired with a smiley face text. This is the day and age that we are in. It is a possibility. It can happen to every single one of you in this room. The people you work for are not your friends. I'm very anti-work, that's all. That's the moral of this story. I want to live in like the socialistic Smurf community. You know, that's what I want. But I don't know. I've yet to really find a job that I enjoy. The moral of the story is work will not make you happy. Maybe, I don't know, or maybe it will. Maybe you did find the thing you like to do, and I'm happy for you. But I'm still leading on a trail of mishaps. There are 2 more stories I didn't even get to. And I don't know. I don't think the journeys end here. I think there'll be many more jobs I get fired from. That's all. Anywhere hiring? Like, I'm gonna make this a one-woman show. But I want to bring Amy back up here because I'm done.
Give it a round, everyone. Yeah. Oh man, I saw you reaching for the mic stand that wasn't there. It's broken. Thanks everyone. We're at our last storyteller. Unfortunately, I want to thank everyone for being such a warm, attentive audience. Again, you can catch us again next month on October 11th with the Halloween themed show. Our last storyteller tonight, if you've been to Go Comedy, he may have shown you to your seat. Please welcome the wonderful Grant Gaither.
Hello. So, my story is about Christmas and meth. It was 2009. My father just passed away. It was December 22nd, about a month after that. Me and my mom go to my sister's house in Missouri, and on the way there, we get into a car accident. Great start off at Christmas. So, on our way there, it was a horrible drive. I had to super glue my dog's head closed because he slammed his face into the pillar, and that wasn't great. Well, we get to my sister's house, I go to sleep, I wake up the next day, and I go to Target. Well, I meet this chick there, awesome, really cool, I've had a bad week, maybe something's going on. She just so happened to live right down the street. Fuck yeah, found a chick. And I go to her house on my brother-in-law's four-wheeler. Well, in Missouri, there's massive rolling hills. Don't go, it's not great. I get to her house. Awesome, there's a big party. Find out she has a boyfriend. So, I see a smoking circle. I'm like, oh, I belong there. I go over, I join, and I'm like, cool, weed. So I start smoking, and about 40 seconds into it, I just start sweating. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I've been a pothead forever. Weed doesn't do this. Well, I go up to her, I'm like, well, what is this? She goes, oh, it's Christmas. We put meth in our weed. And I'm like, fuck! Fuck! I don't know any of you people. I'm 700 miles from home, and I just smoked meth on accident. Talk about getting smacked in the face. Motherfucker. Well, I enjoy the party. I go around, have some drinks, and I'm fucking zooming. I don't even know where I'm at. I'm going crazy. And like, I don't know, a long time after that, I'm just bullshitting, and someone just happens to come up, like, hey, you want to smoke? Yeah. Not even thinking, I just smoked weed with meth in it. Hit it again. Oh, it hits me even harder. I'm like, fuck! Where's your brain, Grant? And it just throws me over another 500,000%. Oh, fucked up. I don't know where I'm at. I drove a four-wheeler in the middle of nowhere to get to a house that's 5 miles away and icy roads. Oh, great day. Well, I don't know, it's 6 in the morning, and they're all about to say, oh, we're at the hatches. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Somehow my fucked up brain decides to hit the joint one more time, and it's hitting 6 in the morning, and it just threw me over. Mind you, my brother-in-law's a pastor. I get back in the four-wheeler, freaking out, I don't know where I'm at. So I go back to the house, and there's these hills. And not knowing, I broke both the axles on a four-wheeler, which that means it doesn't go very great up hills. Well, I went to go up the hill, and it just wrong place. Because there's fucking icy roads, and I'm like methed out, all fucked up, I don't know what the fuck's going on. So I go around into the field, and I hear 3. If anybody knows anything about hillbillies and guns, 3 shots mean, what the fuck are you doing on my property? Well, I'm freaking out, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I'm bewildered. And I get up to the hill and I see their house. My fucking glory, Jesus, thank you. I finally get up the hill, the thing cuts out on me. I throw it in neutral, get downhill. I run to the basement, tell my nephew what happened. I'm like, cover for me because I'm fucked. Well, I act sick. This is Christmas Eve. About 10 hours later, I faked sleep the whole time because if you're meth, there's no such thing as sleep. And my sister comes down, she was like, what in the fuck? I had dirt all over me, my eyes were massive, I didn't look good at all. And next thing I know, my brother-in-law comes running down the stairs. What do you do? So I have a cousin who's a piece of shit, and he always, right when memes started to come out, they were popular, so he would send me them, and it's just the most appalling bullshit you can ever look at. And my brother-in-law's a pastor, my nephew just decides to go through it and falls asleep with his phone upstairs. Next thing I know, I'm fist fighting my uncle, brother-in-law on Christmas Day. All the kids are crying, my sister's screaming, my mom's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I didn't fucking do anything. I'm fist fighting on Christmas morning. It is the worst fucking day of my life. I'm still messed out. All I know, I got a dog that's all fucked up, my truck's half dead, and it was the worst day of my fucking life. So that was my meth Christmas, everybody.
That's our show! Yay! Come to that. Thank you everyone for coming out. The bar's still open if you want to have another drink. If not, have a great night. Thank you.